Hello, I'm Paul Laney, the retired sheriff from Cass County, North Dakota, and the current vice president of national sales for Turnkey Corrections.
And I'm Lauren Matthews, and I'm the current social media and content specialist here at Turnkey.
And you are listening to Jail Talk. By the way, if you enjoy Jail Talk, please give us a like and a follow below. Our last episode, we had Dr. Rachel Silva, the medical director for the Hennepin County, Minnesota Sheriff's Office, on the cast, as she discussed how they responded to the COVID pandemic in their jail system. Today, we are going to visit with a jail administrator from a mid-sized central U.S. jail, Captain Derek Woods of the Riley County Police Department. Captain Woods, welcome to Jail Talk, buddy.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Well, we really appreciate having you here. Lauren, why don't you tell us a little bit about the good captain?
Yes, absolutely. Derek Woods has served the Riley County Police Department and the citizens of Manhattan and Riley County since November 21st, 1999. In June of 2018, Derek was asked to serve as the interim corrections captain, where he remained until his promotion in September of 2020 as captain of the Riley County Jail. Derek began his career with the Riley County Police Department as a corrections officer and is one of the few remaining officers that worked in the original Riley County Jail located at 600 Colorado Street. In 2006, Derek was promoted to the rank of Corrections Sergeant, and in 2009 was promoted the newly created rank of Corrections Lieutenant. He has served on various volunteer committees, such as Policy Review Committee, as well as multiple hiring boards. In 2006, he was selected by his peers as the Corrections Officer of the Year, and in 2013 and 19, he was nominated for Supervisor of the Year. He is a graduate of 2 command-level schools sponsored by the American Jail Association, and he is married with 3 children.
All right. And you also have, 3 children?
3 children.
And your mom retired from the police department.
That's correct. I'm second generation.
Living the legacy.
That's
I bet
right.
she's proud. I bet she's very proud. Well, welcome, Captain, and we are very excited to have you here with us on Jail Talk, but I guess we got to be a little bit honest up front here, Lauren. He wasn't really planning on being with us today on Jail Talk, but you and I are never one to let an opportunity go by, Derek. So you're here with us now.
Yeah, we definitely kind of ambushed him while he was here for a training session, but, you know, you still love us and you can't hold it against us.
Well, you can't really tell Lauren no for too long.
I was this close out the door, but you're right.
We're lucky we got him then, Paul.
Yes. So, well, we do appreciate you being here.
Absolutely.
And,
thank you.
And it's just going to be great to visit with you and talk about your perception and your perspective on this.
Yeah, for sure. So I have a question right off the bat before we get started. Paul said you were with the Riley County, Kansas Police Department. And usually jails are assigned to the sheriff, correct?
That's correct. We are a little bit unique in Kansas. We were the first county in Kansas to consolidate, meaning we don't have an elected sheriff. We have a director and an assistant director that works underneath the law board, which is comprised of county and city commissioners and citizens at large. So we provide police coverage for the entire county and the cities within that county. And the jail is located with the police department, and that's where we are.
So you're a full police service entity, much like what a sheriff's office would be. That police is a county.
When you think of a sheriff's office, that is what we are. We're just the police department.
The difference being you work for an appointed director versus an elected sheriff.
That's correct.
But everything else is pretty much the same.
Pretty much the
Your
same.
thing. Cool.
Yes.
Well, we are very excited to have you. And, you know, our topic today is a follow-up really from our last episode with Dr. Rachel Silva, who discussed, you know, from a medical professional perspective, how they respond to a jail the size of Hennepin County, you know, Minneapolis, Minnesota, and how the things that she's had to deal with. Today, we're going to discuss, you know, a specific jail, Riley County, Kansas, and how you guys have responded, and really just give some different ideas to our listeners who may want further information. You know, we're all kind of in this at different levels across the country. And our goal with Jail Talk is to just kind of provide as many different perspectives from everybody, and hopefully our listeners can walk away from it and go, hey, that's a great idea what he's doing there. I want to try that, or I'm going to bring that. And so that's what we're here to do. You'll also notice the last couple episodes, we've begun wearing masks on Jail Talk. In the past, we've been able to quarantine prior to having our guests come on. Most cases our guests have been able to quarantine, and we quarantine prior. These last couple weeks, we haven't been able to do that, and so, you know, we just feel we should put safety first for our guests and be responsible. And here we are wearing masks. So I hope that's okay with you.
I totally agree. I think in this profession we need to be as safe as possible, and in Riley County we wear masks as well during our duty day.
Is it a mandate for the county and for your deputies out in the field? That type of thing?
We are, if we're in close contact with the public, yeah, we are doing that.
Okay. How about in the jail?
In the jail, our officers are wearing them on the floor. The inmates are provided a mask. We do education over discipline when it comes to mask wearing. If they're anywhere outside of their housing units, they are wearing the mask.
All right. Have you been able to keep COVID out of your facility?
We've been pretty lucky. We've had a couple cases inside the jail, but we've been very lucky and very fortunate.
Cool. And maybe we'll talk about that a little bit further
Okay.
from here. So.
Yeah. Well, Captain Woods, how's your 2020 been?
Well, I don't think any of us were planning a pandemic.
I definitely wasn't. I don't know about you guys.
It certainly was not on my agenda. I don't think it was on any of our agendas. So, yeah, 2020 has definitely been a I don't even know what the word is. It's been something.
Yep.
And
it's
been challenging.
So,
Yeah.
well, as a jail administrator, what has been your biggest challenge? You say challenge, and it just kind of leads me to the first question: what has been your biggest challenge? We all heard about it in kind of that January, February time frame, and I think we were all kind of, we all heard about H1N1 when it hit, and we all heard about bird flu and SARS and all that stuff in the past. And I was a sheriff during H1N1. In fact, I had family members that contracted it. And I'll be honest, in my mind, when I first heard this and heard that this was going to happen, I'm thinking, is this just that? I mean, obviously, and then nowadays with the media and everything's a hot topic and everything's breaking news, you just never know what to kind of believe in a sense. Well, boy, were we educated fast on that.
Yeah. We, in Riley County, we were aware of it. We were watching it. And then when it became reality, a lot of things changed. Priorities became the safety of your officers, educating them on the CDC standards and good hygiene and things like that. And the next thing was thinking outside the box as far as safety with your inmates.
Aren't these things a treat?
Oh, they're fun.
The way they just always want to slide down.
They're fun.
Everybody's looking going here, just slip down off their nose.
Yes.
Pollen's
Yes.
off your nose. That's just fun.
Please comment on his sliding, not mine.
I mean, I just call it out there. It was like, I imagine across this country, not to interrupt you, but it's like these things have given such a different dynamic for all of us. I imagine you're out in the field, you think about it, you're in a jail pod, you're talking to an inmate and your mask slides down,
Yes.
and I got to get this thing up, but you might be in a safety situation. It certainly has provided that dynamic. Going kind of back to how's your 2020 been, and what are your challenges? So sorry to interrupt, but I just figured I'd hit that head on.
So what we do is, we focus on safety and thinking outside the box on ways to make jail functions more streamlined towards safety, and we continue to do that every day.
Yeah, well, I'm sure, like you said, there's been lots of challenges, but hopefully you've also had some successes too. So we were wondering, what has been your biggest success in your jail, but what also was your biggest frustration with the whole thing? Because I'm sure you also had plenty of those as well.
I would say right now 2 big successes would be the low numbers of positive cases inside of our facility and the way the staff came together to think outside the box as far as Zoom meetings, courts, things like that. We expanded that in our jail, and that has been a huge success. The biggest frustration is when you learn that you have somebody in the jail that is positive, and that's where do you go from there?
Right.
So.
Dr. Silva talked about that a little bit with us, where, we literally, and I'm not even being facetious when we say you have a captive audience. It's not like, once it's there and it's in a pod, I mean, it brings out a whole different dynamic for you. Yeah. And as a jail administrator, I imagine that's just you get that phone call and say, hey, a pod is hot. I'm just making that up, but a pod's, oh my God. Now, I mean, it puts in, and not only for your inmates, who are your responsibility and responsibility to keep safe, they're your staff. And all those that have to go into dealing with that situation. So I can imagine that challenge when it does happen. And I bet every one of our listeners out there, every one of our jail administrators is going, oh God, I remember that phone call, And I know there's many jails out there that have been able to say, hey, we were able to keep it out, And I think what's going to be really neat is going forward, and we'll probably talk about this a little bit later, is what have we learned from this in the future? But we'll get to that a little more towards the end. So let's, you talk. What were some? Was that your biggest frustration then too? Was the positive, or was your frustrations like? I know early on, when I served on that NSA task force, the coordination cell, I talked with Dr. Silver about some of the things that we were just nobody had ever really thought this was going to happen, And so as we're across the country trying to get PPE, trying to get things to our nation's sheriffs, trying to get equipment to the sheriff's offices, the things that they needed, did you have any frustrations on that front, or how did you find, for the safety of your people, what route did you guys take? Maybe our listeners can learn something from what you guys did.
I would say at the beginning we were more prepared than what I thought we would be. We were able to work with our county. Our assistant director and our support captain worked really hard with the county to make sure that the proper PPE was available to law enforcement, to EMS, to firefighters, and all of that. They worked really hard, and we were very fortunate when it came to the proper PPE. We had enough supply that when quantities around the country became low, we were able to hold out until it became available for us. So we were very lucky.
You know, one of the things from my 30 years in the business and having been in leadership positions is I realized that you have to make changes sometimes on the fly, and that out of all the bad, sometimes good things come, and out of the unforeseen things happen. So I guess my question for you, Derek, is out of all the changes you had to make, and I imagine you had to do a lot of stuff on the fly and a lot of things pretty quick, what do you want to see go back to normal? Because I think most of America wants to go back to normal.
Yeah.
But I think out of this, too, as law enforcement leaders, we're going to look at this and say, I'm going to keep that. So what do you want to see go back to normal? I guess the first part of the question. And then the second part of my question is, what will you leave in place?
Well, first, I don't like the mask being part of our uniform. But so I'll be looking forward to that going away, one who wears glasses. But we did get some changes out of this. Some of that is we worked with the courts and we worked with the prosecutors, and towards the very beginning of this, we were concerned about exposing those that were housed. So they worked very hard with us to make sure that if they could get out of jail, what other avenues could they do? And so our population did go down in numbers for a good while, and a lot of 2020 our numbers were down. And I attribute a lot of that to the courts and to the prosecutors, to going different routes on things and trying new things. Inside the jail, like I said earlier, we expanded our video court, and our building is very limited in space. We were able to remodel an old locker room, and we put the technology in there, and so we were able to stay in better communication with the courts via Zoom or over the internet type of things. Another thing that occurred during this time is our programs and our volunteers that come in, we had to stop those programs. And I felt bad for not only the inmates not getting the programs any longer, but those people enjoy coming in and providing those services. So we set out to challenge them as well. As the technology was working with the courts, we challenged them to come up with ways to work better in a different capacity. So they did, and they started doing things, YouTube videos or Zoom, and we were able to slowly start integrating volunteer programs back into the jail in a different manner. It was the same classes, but it was done in a different way. So that's been successful, and I hope it continues as we move forward. We have less inmate movement, so that's a huge safety thing. Our officers are not having to leave the building as much on transports. The inmates are staying in the housing units longer, so there's less movement, so it's a safer environment. And I hope a lot of that does stay in place.
Okay, so I have a follow-up question to that.
Okay.
Your defense attorneys, how did they react to this? Did they work with this and understand this was a situation? Did they try to make it difficult in the sense for your prosecutors or for all of you that, hey, they're not getting to make their appearance, this isn't right? Or did everybody kind of come together on both sides of the law enforcement end of it, but the prosecution, the defense, the judges, to say, hey, we got to make this work? What was your experience with that?
I guess I did leave out defense attorneys. No, they worked well with us as well. They, of course, they're going through the same pandemic as we are, and they have their own families. So if we never limited them coming into our jail, if they needed to come into our jail, they were more than welcome. We did, however, screen them just as a precaution in going in. We did ask that they wear a mask, and we had no issues with any of that. We were able to start using Zoom, and we left the inmate in a room where they could talk that way.
Do they make any issue out of the fact that their client was making a video appearance versus an in-person appearance before the judge, or it wasn't an issue?
As far as I know, it hasn't been an issue.
Okay. Which I think is something, because in some cases, a defendant always has the right to appear before a judge.
Yes.
Many places have embraced the video arraignment process and the video appearance process, and then others have said no, they have to be in front of me, they have to be here, and I think this is something that, as we come out of this on the other end of it, you hit the nail right on the head, Captain, is that there's a lot of things we can look at differently to make the courts and law enforcement more efficient. Staffing is always an issue in jails and law enforcement, and getting people to and from court. So I do think some interesting changes are going to come out at the end, and what those will be, we'll all have to take time to assess and see what that is, but I think there'll be some interesting changes, and hopefully everybody working together. So.
I agree.
Well, it sounds like you and your team were able to really work well together, which I'm sure was a relief for you. But in law enforcement, I hear communication is one of the biggest things. It's kind of everything. And how have you worked with other jails in your region?
What we learned early on is you got to expect something not to work, and you got to be okay when it doesn't work, and be able to
Murphy's
change.
Law of jail operations?
Yes.
Is that alive and well in Kansas?
Yes, it does happen in Kansas.
Really alive and well in North Dakota.
Yeah. I stayed in contact with our close agencies that are nearby and would run ideas by them, see what they're doing, if they're doing that, and if they are, was it successful? Did it work? If it didn't work, why it didn't work, and we would all talk along those lines, and we all knew that we were going to do something that we had to change at some point, and being open to that has helped through all of this.
So do you foresee when this is over, like through your associations or things like that, almost like a strategy committee coming out of that, or a type of thing? I know I truly believe, having been involved at the national level for a long time, that my hope is that NSA and MCSA and some of these major associations are going to come out of this and really do a hard dive into COVID response, pandemic response, because let's face it, it's going to happen again in some way, shape, or form. Mm-hmm. And I think we have a responsibility to learn from this and really deep dive into this afterwards. And I think each agency needs to say, hey, as much as I'm tired of this, I need to participate in that as well. And that's another part of that communication I think is pretty critical. What do you think?
I would say to a large degree we were forced into that because, it's not going away. It's been here. It's been a good while. We can try and be independent, make all the decisions ourselves, but at some point we're just going to have to ask questions, and we're going to have to be able to look back and learn from it, change going forward, to be prepared for whatever happens next.
Absolutely. Well, I'll say as a sheriff, the safety of my people was everything. And Dr. Silva, talked to us told us last episode that she is a big proponent of the vaccine. And there's a lot of different, ideas out there, different topics out there. She's a medical professional in the corrections world, and she's a big proponent of the vaccine. Now, how are you distributing the vaccine situation in your jail with your people?
The vaccine is available in our county. We left it up to the officer whether or not they wanted to get it, and we are about halfway through getting our first vaccine. The department did an excellent job of providing the education materials so that we could research it and know about it to make a good decision. As I said earlier, our assistant director and our support captain worked well with the county and had a lot of the answers. Okay. We did have some staff who was absolutely against it. We have some staff who wanted to refer to their family doctor before deciding, and we left that all up to them. If they chose to get it, then we so far have been able to get it, and we're moving forward with it.
And this is just and I know this is a rough guess. I am not asking. So on a percentage-wise, roughly, what would you say the percentage of your department was towards getting it and versus not?
I don't know the entire department, but my division, I would say, was 60% for getting it.
Okay.
So.
Okay. Yeah. And I think as like everybody, knowledge is power. And I'll be the when I first heard about the vaccine, I was like, no way. And now as I've learned more and I've consulted with people I deeply respect in the medical community and family members on top of people like Dr. Silva, I'm having a different change on that myself personally. Early on I was like, no way, because I'm one of those, I don't put a lot in my body that I don't understand. And I personally, when it comes out, I will get it. I don't think there's we're like she said, we've mastered this across the centuries, or across the years, our ability with it. So personally, I'm going to get Lauren. What are your thoughts on it? We talked to generations.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts?
Yeah,
on it?
I feel like I'm a little more on the fence about it. I guess not because I don't want it. I've just heard very contradicting things. Like we say, it's very controversial both ways, and there are some side effects that do concern me. Being as young as I am,
Right.
the longevity of the effects of it, but I think when it comes down to it, if it's offered to me, I will get it just because, if I can protect my family and myself and my, coworkers and everyone, then I want to be able to do my part. It's no different than wearing a mask. I mean, just, you're doing your part. So,
and I think it does come down to education and comfort level. That's the
exactly.
beauty of being an American. We're free to make our choices.
Exactly.
And at some point, too, obviously there's going to be maybe repercussions for those that decide not to, or for those that are like, hey, you can't go into this place, or you can't that. And I think, I used to feel that way with a mask. If this place wants me to wear a mask, I'll wear my mask. And if other places say, hey, if you want to, I'll wear my mask. It's their business, and I think that's, that's going to be one of those changes across the country and how things are, and in public buildings, things like that. And I just think, we all kind of got to step back and educate. That's the biggest thing is educate ourselves and then make the appropriate decision for you and your family, and see where it takes us from there.
Right. Well, like we said, it's pretty controversial. Like we said, some embrace it, some fear it. How have you handled that with your staff? If you have someone that comes to you and you encourage it, but they just are completely afraid of it and they really don't want it, or.
I try and send them to the right people that have the answers, or send them to the proper location to get to the answers. I myself have taken the vaccine, so I figure if I'm going to want my officers to do so, then I'm going to do it as well. So I have taken it. I did find out I'm scheduled to get the second one. So when they come to us and they're not sure, we try and lead them in the right direction to get the answers they're needing.
Right.
Maybe going to their family doctor because of what other personal medical needs they may have. And so we don't want to make the answer for them. That's why we've left that to the individual.
Right. Like we said, comes down to education.
It does.
Absolutely. And I think in any case, if somebody mandates says you're going in and getting it, that's a really tough position to put your people in.
Right.
And I think at that point, it's like I said, right now, this is a new turf, and we all have to be understanding and kind of walk our way through this and find our way through this thing. So, well, I tell you what, buddy, we're kind of coming to the end of the show here. What final message do you have for our nation's jail leaders? I mean, you guys, you're a mid-sized jail. You're in Manhattan. Home of Kansas State,
Yes,
you did steal our football coach,
We did.
You did, and
Yeah.
he's doing good things
He
for you
is
guys.
doing great things for
so
us,
I'm a
yes.
North Dakota State fan, so Coach Kleiman doing an awesome job at Kansas State. Shout out to you there. So I became a Kansas State fan the minute he went there, and doing good things there. So, it's kind of like we said, we kind of all across the country, we have every different ways, shapes, and forms of jails and corrections and the things that we do. What you have the mic and you have a message. What would your message be to
If I had to put a message out to those in the correction system profession right now, is none of us expected a pandemic. None of us expected to be doing what we're doing right now. We just didn't see it. But here we are. Be open to thinking outside the box. Remember your officers. Think of their safety and put that foremost. And be open to change and trying new things during this time, because we are going to have to look back, reflect, and learn from it.
Absolutely. Wise words, good words. And, everybody out there listening too, one of the things I always try to do is network and bring people together. So if anybody out there listening wants to give you a call and talk to you one-on-one about some of the things, are you open for that?
Absolutely. Give me a call.
All right, well, Captain Derek Woods, the Raleigh County, Kansas Police Department, jail administrator. Give him a call if you guys ever want a chance. Our job is to hook people up, help educate.
Right.
And any chance we can to do that. So I just want to thank you so much. You were ambushed.
100%.
We pretty much cornered him in the classroom and
Yep.
said, hey, would you be willing to do this? But what I thought was really cool is you went, this is an opportunity
Absolutely.
to share and learn, and we appreciate that more than you know. So thank you again for coming on the show. It's been a privilege to visit with you, and hope you'll come back and see us again.
Sure. Absolutely. Thank you.
Yeah. Well, if anybody has any questions, comments, or maybe wants to be featured on the show, email us at jailtalk@turnkeycorrections.com. Make sure you follow us on Twitter at JailTalk Podcast, and like, share, and subscribe to our YouTube channel. And to watch our podcasts or listen, go to jailtalk.podbean.com.
All right. Well, I am Paul Laney.
And I'm Lauren Matthews.
You've been listening to Jail Talk, and we will see you next time.